These are not real, but these ones are. And they want to eat something more important than your brain, your hard-earned money. It's a capitalist's worst nightmare. When the economy is good and the money printer goes into overdrive, venture capitalists start acting like little kids who finally got their hands on their parents' credit card. They see any company and they start giving out money like Oprah gives out cars. It doesn't matter how flawed the product, leadership, or business model is. Millions are spent. Just as long as the company has a couple buzzwords, venture capitalists will go into a spending frenzy. Surprisingly, not all companies that are hyped by venture capitalists are zombie-like companies that are built on a buzzword business model. Some will become multi-billion-dollar corporations that will dominate the world. How do you tell the multi-billionaire company from the zombie company? The Office. Right now, you're probably thinking that you're smarter than a venture capitalist and would never invest in a zombie company. But if you watch The Office, then you're a hypocrite. You invested your hard-earned money into one of the worst zombie companies out there. That's right. The Office isn't a sitcom about some boring company. It's about a company that uses humor to hide that they are secretly eating your money. And you fell for it. How is Dunder Mifflin a zombie company? Well, first you need to grasp the bigger picture. The paper printing industry is a dying industry. People aren't printing as much as they used to. The rise of the internet has shifted how people consume information from paper to digital. Physical mail has given way to emails. Traditional books have been largely replaced by ebooks, and even newspapers have moved online. The hard truth is that the Dunder Mifflin Company will never become profitable. It will only survive as long as there are cheap loans to keep it afloat. With no profits and a heavy debt burden, Dunder Mifflin lingers between solvency and bankruptcy, aka a zombie company. And for those of you that weren't deceived by the Dunder Mifflin Company, then you were probably deceived by one of these. Here comes the really scary part. If left untreated, a zombie company can affect the whole economy. A zombie economy, the decline of Japan. Starting in the 1890s, Japan went through a little bit of a naughty phase where they tried to amass resources, start wars, and conquer the world. This villain arc came to an end once they got a little bit of a lecturing from Grandpa USA during the 1940s. After that, they became a capitalist little angel and started implementing the 5 commandments of capitalism: rule of law, infrastructure development, open markets, private ownership, and free trade. The Japanese economy grew fast, really fast, dominating the car industry with Toyota's reliably mass-produced cars and the electronic industry with Sony's Walkman and PlayStation. With the hottest economy on the block, Japan became rich, richer than even the USA. They were finally able to fulfill their long-lasting dream of conquering the world, economically. Japan was so cool with its economic miracle that everyone tried to be like them. They even got their own little fan club, the 4 Asian Tigers: Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan, united together under one goal. They want to be rich too. Everyone started to fangirl after any product with a made in Japan signature. The fame got to Japan's head. Famously, the land around the emperor's palace was said to be worth more than all of the land in California. Then the 1990s came around, and just like millennials dream of ever owning a home, the economy crashed and burned. Many of Japan's largest corporations were about to fail. These corporations were so intricately woven in the fabric of the broader economy that the collapse of one could trigger a domino effect, potentially spiraling into a widespread economic depression. These were no ordinary companies. They were colossal entities deemed too big to fail. The Bank of Japan faced a difficult decision: indebt a nation to save these companies, or let them fail and risk mass unemployment. The choice would define the nation for the next half a century. This situation mirrors the dilemma in zombie movies where your own family members are turned into zombies. You are faced with the uncomfortable choice. Do you eliminate them before they infect you, or risk it and attempt to find a cure? The Bank of Japan chose to risk it and attempt to save these too big to fail firms. They started to implement a you get a car economics, providing cheap loans to almost every company. Unfortunately, the worst case scenario unfolded, and the economic disaster spread from the too big to fail firms to the Japanese banks, ultimately transforming them into zombie banks. The zombie infection could not be stopped. It eventually infected the whole economy. The next decade for Japan was marked by a stagnant economy, an exceptionally low GDP per capita growth rate. This era was infamously termed as Japan's lost decade, initially spanning 1 decade, but eventually extended to 2 and then 3 lost decades. Before the crisis, Japan had a GDP per capita on par with America. Today, it stands at merely half of that. The fostering of unproductivity caused by these zombie companies led to the decline of the once dominant Japanese firms such as Sony and Panasonic, with Toyota being the lone exception. Recessions. When that word comes to mind, most people think about losing their job, the economy falling apart, and cutting back spending. However, amid this gloom and hardship lies the secret weapon to fight against zombie companies. During a recession, when there's a downturn in economic activity, companies face reduced demand and higher loan payments. This economic hardship acts like a filter to weed out zombie companies from their more resilient counterparts before they grow too large and have a negative impact on the broader economy. While there will still be an increase in unemployment when zombie companies go under, there is an upside. The freed up resources will allow the emergence of more productive companies that will ultimately lead to more innovations and higher wages. But recessions don't have to kill zombie companies to protect the economy. They can provide a much needed shock to possibly resurrect these companies back to life. For a real-world example, let's examine how companies adapted to the COVID-19 pandemic. Confronted with social distancing policies, many organizations transitioned from traditional office spaces to remote work model. Post-pandemic, a significant number of companies continued with remote work, leading to a reduction in commuting time and the need for office space. Lessons. Just like large economies, we also have zombie traits that negatively impact our lives and linger within us. If allowed to fester, these traits can lead to major negative impact on our lives, such as divorce, job loss, and bad health. But if during hardships and struggles, we take the opportunity to bring these weaknesses to light, then we can avoid the negative consequences that face Japan. To close out this video, I leave you with a quote from the post-apocalyptic novel Those Who Remain. Hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times.